Hey, this is Chris, keeping it real. How you doing? So this will be my final installment of the personal memoirs of US Grant. I finished the book. I wish I could remember how many pages it was. It's about 500 pages. It's a pretty lengthy book, but I don't really have anything new to add to it other than what I've already said. I mean, he's a very good writer. I think that's the first thing that struck me. He's able to quickly and concisely and completely somehow summarize, what it is he wants to say. It really is. It's just, I may not be able to find good writing, but I know what it is when I see it. And to condense his experience from the entire Civil War down to 500 pages, well, and the Mexican War too, so there was a little bit more to it than that, is really amazing, and he just does such a good job. I really enjoyed the final chapter where he just kind of reflected upon what the war meant to him, which I agree with completely, 100%. And I'm not going to bore you with it. And I know if you're of Southern descent, you probably don't appreciate it anyway. So, but the fact of the matter is, during the war, he was the superior general. I mean, he had, I think, vision on the battlefield, or vision in knowing what needed to be done to win the war. He had it, and I don't think that there was anybody in a similar position on the rebellion side, as he would call it, that had a similar vision. If someone on the southern side had said, you know what, all we really need to do is extend this war out 5 or 6 years, and we'll have our own country. If someone had just realized that and implemented that strategy, they would have won. They would have won, but they didn't need to win. All they had to do was lose, and so they lost. So it's unfortunate. Well, depending on your perspective, I don't think it's unfortunate, but it was unfortunate for the rebellion that it did not work out the way they wanted it to. I especially liked his recollections of his meetings with Lincoln and how he characterized Lincoln's character. It really is amazing what just a truly good man Abraham Lincoln was. I mean, and all you have to do is read a second inaugural address to understand what kind of man Lincoln really was. He was willing to just basically say, okay, agree not to try to leave the Union again, and you're back, period. That was all it was. And it is unfortunate that some idiot named John Wilkes Booth decided that he needed to kill Lincoln instead. And by the way, Grant was supposed to be at that theater that night. He had an invite, but wanted to go see his children and his wife instead. So that was fortunate for the country, for the Union, for the United States. But Lincoln had that vision too. I mean, he didn't know how to do it because he wasn't a military guy, but he knew that when he found Grant, that Grant was the key to victory, to preserving the Union. So, what else? Oh, his account of his meeting. Well, I guess his first and last meeting with Robert E. Lee. It's amazing. They just kind of got together. It's amazing to me, given the rancor of like current Southern people who are descendants of the Confederacy. These soldiers, when that final battle was over, they got together, they talked, they reminisced. They were not like enemies. Everybody recognized, I think, that they were all Americans. And now that the conflict was over, it was time to get back to being Americans. I mean, that was like the tone of it. Robert E. Lee and Ulysses S. Grant sat at the table and really had a quite extended conversation about things that had nothing to do with the resolution of the conflict. I mean, they just talked. And it took 2 promptings by Robert E. Lee to get Grant back on track. I mean, isn't that something? I mean, You know, when people have been at war for 4 years, you don't really expect that kind of outcome on a personal level. That was really nice to see. I wish more people would emulate that today. You know, it's like, look, you know, let's get over it. You know, it's over. Somebody won, somebody lost. That doesn't mean that the person who lost needs to be ground into the dirt. You know, the nations of Europe could have learned after World War I, of course, should have and could have learned a great deal from how the Civil War was resolved. There's some parallels there, right? You know, John Wilkes Booth killed Lincoln, and it led to an acrimonious sectionalism in the country. Britain and France and the other Allied countries insisted upon punitively punishing the Germans so bad that it directly led to the rise of Nazi Germany. I mean, there's definite parallels there. Now, there's a lot of differences too. I'm not saying they're exactly the same, but still, you know, how you treat your defeated enemy has a lot to do with what the future holds. And Lincoln's plan would have certainly worked out a lot better, I think. But it's unfortunate that his plan was not given a chance. But you know, in final analysis, I really enjoyed the book. If you like history at all, you will enjoy it. If you are interested in the Civil War and you consider yourself an expert and you haven't read this book, then you really, really do need to read this book, because it is great. I can't say enough about it. Alrighty, got any questions or comments? Leave them in the section below. Like and subscribe. We appreciate when you do. We'll see you on the next video.